Hello everyone, my name is Cerebellum and this is Academy of the Ancients. Today we're going to be looking at how to do a basic draft. I'm in on a website that allows you to practice drafting. And I've just set up a draft against myself. I've basically got the game running, or the website running in 2 tabs, and I've joined a private lobby with myself. So it gives me a bit more time to talk than if it was against some random opponent. They're generally pretty impatient. But yeah, I'm just going to go through. Before we start, I just want to go through exactly what kind of lineup you should be looking to run as just a very basic draft. And then we're gonna just go through the different considerations that there are after all, and why you want to pick what you want to pick at the different stages, why you want to do something, like why it's good to pick your supports first, for instance. So yeah, this video is geared for people who do not already play Captain's Mode. If you are looking to get into Captain's Mode and you want to know a bit more about what the drafting is all about, and in general what principles there are to look for, and what to expect from it, this is a video geared for you. If you already play Captain's Mode, if you're already doing captaining, there's probably not going to be anything new under the sun for you here. But yeah, basically what you have in Captain's Draft is you have a round of banning followed by a round of picking, and then followed by another round of banning, followed by another round of picking, then a single ban and a single pick for each side. So for the bans are in general a lot less important than the picks, especially at the lower levels. And in general what we are going to be looking to do is we're going to look to set up 2 solo lanes, one on our mid and one on our off lane, and then a tri-lane on our safe lane. That's the top for the Dire and the bot lane for the Radiant. If you don't know how to run a tri-lane, then probably you shouldn't be playing Captain's Mode yet. Probably it's better to yeah, play up just in all pick, or to read up on it, maybe watch some pro games, see what they do. So yeah, we want a tri-lane setup, and probably a defensive tri-lane. That is to say, we run the tri-lane on our safe lane. We don't want to run a jungler, and we want to just have one hard carry, an initiating offlaner, and just a mid that can win his lane. And the mid that can win his lane is probably the difficult part of this, and the one that requires the most game knowledge. But let's head into it. I'm gonna ready up both of them. There's gonna be a really annoying sound. No? Okay. So now it's gonna be the really annoying sound. Yeah, there we go. Let's go ahead and make it the Radiant. And yeah, we just say whoever gets first pick. Yeah, so the first round of bans is really not very important. It's more important if you have a set strategy, but if you are just playing with your friends and you're all kind of lower level, maybe you don't play ranked yet, maybe you are below 2k MMR, then it is really difficult to know what you should be banning out. But in general, just banning out popular heroes that you don't want to run is a good thing. Yeah. And in general, just banning stuff that's better on the other side of the map than the one you are is a good thing. So here, let's ban out Lycanthrope, because Lycanthrope is a lot better on Dire than he is on Radiant. We don't want him, maybe the opponents want him. Similar logic here, just we're banning for the Dire side now. So we want to ban Tinker. Tinker's a lot better on Radiant than he is on Dire. So we go back to the Radiant again, they get their second ban. And here, let's go with a Void ban, Faceless Void ban. I wouldn't recommend picking Faceless Void if you are lower in the MMRs, if you are looking to just set up a kind of, not foolproof, but kind of more fool tolerant strategy, because the Chronosphere allows you to mess up a lot. So yeah, let's just ban the Doom here. Yes, so the first round of picks is really important. What you're looking to do here is just set up get your first few picks in without exposing your strategy too much or allowing your opponents to counterpick you. This means, first of all, for the love of God, do not pick your mid first. This is a big mistake and allows your opponent all the time in the world to come up with a counterpick, which is not what you want to do. Instead, what I would recommend you do is just pick up a strong support with a stun. Ranged support with a stun that will allow them to harass in lane and set up kills with their stun and provide some initiation. So a good example of this could be Crystal Maiden, especially, and also the stun should be instant. Like, you can pick up like a Jakiro or a Leshrac. I really don't recommend Leshrac though, but their stuns are hard to hit, so they need a little bit of setup, and it's a little bit more difficult to run. Over here, you can pick up like a support that doesn't have a stun, but it's pretty easy to run, like say the Lish here. It's really good. Now, if you don't have the first pick, you will get the 2 first picks, which means you can run, yeah, you can set up a combo. And there's a little bit of a combo with Lich. This isn't much of a combo though, and it's a little hard to set up, though I have made it run once, and that's with Treant, because you can do the overgrowth. Once the Lich just throws out his ultimate, you do the overgrowth, and then they're stuck having to tank it for a little bit. It's not much, and it kind of leaves us with both our supports without a solid lockdown before the Treant hits 6. So it's not ideal. Another side here, I really like the Sand King. I think he's very good, especially if you have a guy that knows how to jungle with him. Then it's a very good recommended pickup. It also, like now we just have the Crystal Maiden and the Sand King. It doesn't tell them anything about what our carry is gonna be. It doesn't tell them anything about what our mid lane or off lane is gonna look like. All they know is we're gonna have a tri-lane with 2 disables, which is really hard to run up against. Now, so one thing you can do if your opponents don't draft any good, draft 2 supports without any good initiation, any stuns, then you can just kind of ban out other heroes that would be good for them to run, because like a core with a stun, because then they're gonna probably run out of options pretty fast. And let's go with Sven. Sven is one of the few carries, very few carries that have good disables, and Stormhammer from Sven is one of the best ones on a carry. The opponent's side, let's say they're not completely dumb, and they want to ban out, let's say they ban out Centaur. Centaur's a really good offlaner, and it's a really good ban here because he just provides even more control, and we just sort of want the same thing from the offlaner. Yeah. So another thing, our 2 support pickups here, specifically these 2 supports have a lot of nuke in their ultimates. So once they hit 6, we're gonna get really good team fight just with these 2. Oh well, not really good, but kind of good team fight anyway. Let's just say we are a little bit worried about a wombo combo. We're gonna ban out Magnus. He's a bit of not played very much these days, but you know, these bans again not super important, and it's really hard to say in a small amount of time why, like explain exactly why you would do this. Just make sure you ban out stuff that go in positions that aren't already occupied. So right now we just don't want to ban out supports as either of these because they are all picked. Yeah, so another annoying offlaner to deal with would be Clockwork. Clockwork, really good offlaner and really good initiator. So it's gonna be the Dire's pick, and they're gonna be looking to pick up their offlaner. Now, when they've got 2 supports that don't provide initiation, it's very vital that they get an offlaner that can provide the initiation. And probably the simplest one to pick up there, and the one I would absolutely recommend you pick up, is Tidehunter. It's very hard to kill, dead easy to play, and Ravage is super effective. He's got a surprising amount of skill cap on him as well, so you can really get a lot out of playing him a lot. He's got some things about him that makes him very effective in some ways. We've had a lot of offlane bans here in these guys, so we're kind of running out of really good options to run here. Fortunately, the Radiant offlane is a little bit more forgiving, so you could run. Actually, let's go ahead and run a Darkseer here. The Darkseer is a very good offlaner, very hard to shut down. You kind of have to kill him in the first level or so. If you can do that, then you're doing good, but if you can't, then you're not doing good at all. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, there's a few heroes in here that shouldn't be in here, like the Phoenix isn't in Captain's mode, Spirit isn't in Captain's mode, and Terrorblade isn't in Captain's mode. So, yeah, I think Legion Commander isn't either. Yeah, she isn't. So, it's just I picked the wrong version when we started this. Just a quick remark on that. So, we've got our supports picked, we've got our offlaner picked. Now what we want to do is pick up the carry. It's pretty late, the opponents aren't going to be able to do too much about whatever carry we pick up, and we can just, you know, go with whatever we want with that matches up pretty decent against what they've got here. So for the Dire side, they do kind of need someone with a bit of disable, so I think Gyrocopter would be a good choice. He's got a pretty bad stun, but he do have a lot of slow that can help that stun hit. He's also got a lot of slow himself, and he's got a lot of AoE damage. He can work very well with the Tidehunter. You just hit the Ravage, then you can drop the Gyro ulti. That works the same way with Overgrowth. And, you know, they also have the 3-inch living armor, which is gonna help keep both the Gyro and the Tidehunter alive. Both of those heroes really work well with defensive abilities. Gyro, because he's a glass cannon, he can deal a lot of damage in a short amount of time, so keeping him alive a bit longer can work very well like that. Tidehunter, because he's going to be solo offlane, and a Tidehunter with living armor is super hard to kill. For the Radiant, we can go greedier. We can go for one without a disable, because we already have 2 strong disables. We don't really need it that badly, so we are gonna go with, I think, a Luna. Yeah. Last round of bans, and here it's looking like, because neither side have picked a mid hero yet, both sides are kind of forced to ban out mids, but they don't know what the opponents want. So let's just go with. There are some mid heroes that can nearly always win their lane, and that is Viper and Razor. These guys are like, if you're in doubt, they can match up pretty well against almost anything. Like, it's just they're super hard to play up against. The thing is, when you ban both of these, they are kind of the counter to a guy called Outworld Devourer. So they could pick him. He does have an ability that's not really what we want to look for initially, which is the Astral Imprisonment, and that's these banish effects can be a bit rough for lower level players to play with, just because they end up using them in ban points in the game. Like, they end up saving enemies. Like, if you Astral Imprison someone who has a blink dagger, and they can just blink away after they get out of it, if you don't get damage on them fast enough. Yeah, just, you know, you end up saving people or dooming people, where just unintentionally. So. But anyway, it's a strong pickup, especially when Viper and Razor aren't in the pool, so we go with that. And yeah, for the Radiant side, just someone who can match up well against OD. Now we ended up spanning out these two, which, you know, when they ban out Viper, banning out the Razor is actually a really bad thing to do, because banning the Viper is a strong indication that they want OD. Yeah, so let's go ahead and pick up Brewmaster. It's one of the really good mids at the moment. I don't think he matches up. What? I don't think he matches up all too well against OD, but it's not that bad. So let's take a look at how our lanes shape up. So let's see. This is the Radiant, so their tri-lane should be bottom. This should be the off lane. Yeah, and then over here we have tri-lane should be top. And this should be bottom. And let's see what kind of lanes we end up with. So, on the top lane, that is the safe lane for Dire, we have a Radiant side Darkseer against a Lich, Treant, and a Gyrocopter. And the Darkseer shouldn't have too much of a problem here. One important thing to note is they didn't have too much melee going up against this Darkseer, which can be a real problem. If they'd picked up, like, say they'd picked up Chaos Knight, then he would, in order to get last hits, he would have to go in towards the Iron Shield creep from Darkseer, and that's a big old newbie trap. You do not want to do that, because yeah, then the Iron Shield is just gonna do a ton of damage to you. Another big thing for the Darkseer here is they don't really have a way to kill him off. They don't have a good stun, they don't have anything but slows, and Darkseer can just max his movement speed with Surge and get out of dodge, and, you know, they basically have no way to kill the offlaner, and that's one of the reasons why you really want these disables on the supports. If we take a look at the other tri-lane versus offlaner matchup, then we have Crystal Maiden, Sand King, and Luna against the Tidehunter. So what we can do here is, if the Crystal Maiden just gets an angle on the Tidehunter, lands the Frostbite, that can set up the stun for the Sand King, and they can all just kind of wail him down a bit. Now, he is going to have the living armor from the Treant, which is going to make it hard to kill him, but it's definitely easier for this lane to get a kill here than it is for the other lane to get a kill on the Darkseer. So, both teams have really good team fight. I talked a little bit about the mid matchup, which I think it's very few heroes that have a good matchup against OD. And Brewmaster, I think, just by virtue of him not being an int hero, so he doesn't get his damage stolen by OD, because OD steals your int temporarily with Astral Imprisonment. That's kind of his gimmick mid. And he's a pretty strong laner in general. That can be that's not the worst matchup, at least. I think maybe it's not very good, but yeah. Again, I kind of unintentionally highlighted a common mistake here with the way we banned out. We kind of helped our opponents here as the Radiant by banning out the counter to what they wanted, after they gave us a pretty solid signal of what we wanted. So maybe what would be good now is if I just illustrate quickly why we draft for a tri-lane. So I tried the latest version before. Now I'm going to try the tournament version. Let's go with a Dire side draft instead. And let's say the Radiant gets first pick. So, as the Radiant now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draft a dual lane, and we're going to just kind of breeze through this. And I'm going to tell you afterwards why this dual lane setup is going to probably lose to this tri-lane setup. Okay? Okay. So, we're going to do some random bans here. And they don't like Ricky. We don't like Tinker. They don't like Spirit Breaker. And let's say we don't like Shadowfiend. Yeah, so let's say they just want yeah, let's say they just don't want they just want Crystal Maiden Juggernaut as their first dual lane. Let's say they even pick like a dual lane that makes sense, which is not very common. We're just gonna go for what's the strong support with a disable Wind Ranger. Shackle Shot, a little bit hard to hit, but it can be really good. For second support, let's just go with another one that's kind of good, and that is, yeah, let's go for Lion. Lion is really good. With regard to disable, he's got tons of disable. Hexes in general are really good. So, as I mentioned before, they're gonna go for like a kind of basic combo in Crystal Maiden Juggernaut. And Juggernaut, really weak carry potential for a safe lane farm. So this is actually a pretty good indication that if they know at all what they're doing, they're gonna want to run cores in their mid and north lane positions. But yeah, let's say they just kind of ban out stuff they don't want to play against. The new players tend to hate these invis heroes and kind of gimmicky heroes. So yeah, with the Crystal Maiden already in, let's say yeah, we're gonna ban another Sand King here. They do need a support here, so yeah. With these kinds of bans are very common at the low level, like Ricky, Barafo, Weaver, Bloodseeker. These are all kind of heroes that newbies struggle to deal with, but the way to deal with them usually is just that they're really bad in lane. Ricky and Baratham especially are really weak in lane. Weaver's legit, but the rest of them have some issues in lane that can be abused if you know how. Yeah, so I'm over here, doing a second ban. And it honestly doesn't matter super much. Let's just say the OD burned us last game, so let's just get rid of that. We get our pick here, and this is going to be the off laner. So we just want something that can survive this dual lane and have a good chance against the other dual lane. And a really good bet here is actually the Tidehunter again. And it's also going to just give us more initiation and yet more disable. And if you just stack up the disable, it's almost always pretty good. We also have, like, we've got the power shot, and we've got the finger to give us a bit of nuke, a bit of reach damage wise, to give us some oomph. Let's say they just want, let's say they go with a comparably bad lane here for the second dual lane. I'm gonna go for, now we pick up our carry over here, and we just want something. When they go for like a dual lane setup, if you think they're going for a dual lane setup, we can't know this so far, but it can pay off to go for a not super hard carry. So we shouldn't look for Void We shouldn't look for anti-mage, shouldn't look for Spectre. We should look for something that can fight a little bit earlier. And one thing that can fight really early and is really good on Dire is Ursa. So yeah, we're gonna pick up the Ursa. He can do some serious hurt. He can also just burst through the Juggernaut if he ends up laning against him. But yeah, you can see this. So we've got AA here, and let's go for a second dual lane. We will have Lifestealer. Go. And now we get to the Dire ban. That's this, yes. So obviously they just need a mid. They need a mid with a bit of carry, but yeah, maybe a little carry potential. Both of these have kind of issues as super late game carries, but they're actually more than well enough comparable to ours here. But we have banned out the OD, so maybe what we really don't want is just a super hard snowballer like Storm. So we just ban out that. Again, bans a lot less important than picks, so don't sweat them too much if you feel like you're a little bit lost. Yeah. So here they can also see if they have any kind of brain that you need a mid. So you could also take the Wind Ranger mid, but it doesn't really matter too much. Let's say they've had problems with someone who knows how to play Invoker. So they pick an Invoker, or ban an Invoker. There we go. So we have to kind of pick our mid here, and we have to kind of assume that they need something with a bit of disable. And in general, the Silencer is really good as a mid if he's played right. So we're gonna pick up a Silencer, and they are gonna pick up, say, Mirana. There we go. So let's just set up our lanes here. We have, let's say, this kind of setup from them. We do the normal thing, which is the trilane with a support and a Silencer. So let's just validate this, and we can talk about the matchups. So basically, dual lanes hinge very much on getting kills. If you know what you're doing as the tri-lane, you should be able to abuse pulling and stacking, and to use pulling and stacking to get the advantage on the dual lane farming wise. However, the dual lane cannot, like, especially when you have a melee, I don't care if he has the spin, if you have a melee against Tidehunter, Tidehunter is going to have a good time if they're solo, and he is going to be solo if the Crystal Maiden is stacking, at least for a little while. So the Tidehunter should be able to get farm here, and with a little bit of setup, then these two heroes should be able to be shut down by the amount of the save we have over here. Just kind of set up, get lucky with a Shackle Shot, lead in with the Hex and the Impale from Lion, and you know, then the Ursa can just rip into these two. So yeah, that's the reason why you don't do dual lanes. You can't do the stacking and the pulling as effectively. You can't do rotations as effectively, and it hinges a lot upon you being able to get kills. So even a very like traditional dual lane like Crystal Maiden Juggernaut is going to have some issues against the right offlaner, or the right against the right offlaner. And in this case, I think Tidehunter is a really good bet, just because he's got the Kraken Shell. It can purge him off of the slow. He's got a large HP pool, and as soon as you know he's alone with Juggernaut, he can just use Anchor Smash to harass him, get last hits, and he can actually use Anchor Smash while he's in spin to deal damage to him, because the Anchor Smash composite damage, or physical maybe. I think it is. Yeah, I'm actually just gonna look that up. So yeah, just a quick example of why we do it, tri-lanes and not dual lanes. Why that's generally how you play at just a decent level of play. Not even the higher levels of play. It's just yeah, it is physical. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna leave this here. Let me know if you think this was good. I will do some more videos like this if it is well received. Else I'll probably just go back to the usual if no one finds this useful at all. So Also, if you have any questions, feel free to link them here. Again, I will provide a link to this website in the description for this video. So, hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm gonna be off. See ya.